Hello and welcome. You're watching FYI. I am Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Never before have I been requested to do a show so much on this one topic. Never before has an entire generation been united in this one feeling. Never before has a country faced almost an endemic as big as this as well. We are talking about stress. Stress management, coping with it at work, at home, with friends, with colleagues. Now, this is an issue that has really sort of engulfed an entire generation, coping up with stress as well. So we thought we'll do a 2-3 part series on this, and today we focus on understanding stress at work. But what exactly is stress? We all almost say it in passing, oh, I'm so stressed these days. Is there a clinical definition for it? Is there a difference between stress, burnout, before it gets to the level of panic attack? That's something we'll discuss in our explainer. Let's get started. Alright, so the difference between stress, burnout and panic attack, what is it really? Let's start by giving you that definition of stress first. It results when pressures exceed ability to cope. That's the original definition of stress. The feeling of too much, that is stress. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. What is burnout on the other hand? That is a feeling of constant exhaustion caused by excessive stress. Feeling of being not enough. A lot of people can relate to that as well. That is the second level. That's a burnout, my friend. Panic attack, what is that? Well, that is an episode of overwhelming fear, which peaks in a matter of just 10 minutes. Comes at a very unexpected time as well. That is panic attack. If you're facing that, and at all the 3 levels, the treatment given to you, the approach is going to be different. So very important to understand where do you fit in. Let's look at all these 3 in a little bit of more detail. Let's talk about psychological symptoms over here. When you are under stress, you feel anxiety, you feel depression, you feel loss of productivity as well. If you are in a burnout stage, you will feel self-doubt, no motivation, you will be very tough on yourself, you will feel lonely even in a room full of people. And panic attack, well, that's a stage where you just want a flight response. You just want to go from that place, physically and mentally. There is this feeling of confusion, feeling of losing control as well. Physical symptoms, if that's something to go by, a fast heart rate, well, that's going to be a constant in all 3. But a quickening of breath as well, tense muscles. A lot of people clutch their teeth, your jaws hurt, and you wake up in the morning not knowing why. That is because you were under stress even when you were sleeping. Burnout, a physical symptom of that will be feeling drained, getting headaches, low immunity, falling sick quite often, a change in appetite as well. It could be not feeling hungry to feeling hungry all the time. When it comes to panic attack, well, that's a stage where you feel nauseous, you feel a pain in the chest, you feel blurred vision, you feel chills and hot flashes as well, hyperventilation, feeling of claustrophobia as well, and numbness in your fingers, going quite cold in your hands as well. These are all physical symptoms. Possible causes, that's the next thing that you must look at. Specific stressor, it could be job insecurity, it could be inadequate income, it could be uncaring supervisors. And burnout, if you're at that stage, you will see a lack of control over work, lack of recognition, lack of sleep, perfectionist tendencies as well. That's when, these are possible causes that can lead to a burnout level as well. A panic attack will be unpleasant life events, overactive thyroid gland, physically speaking, and other psychological disorders as well. And automatic negative thought is also one of them. Negative effects, talking about them, of stress, what happens then? Well, increased or decreased food intake. For organization, it could be low productivity, it could be absenteeism as well, it could be conflicts between co-workers. A lot of people blame you for being this really annoying person at work. You could just be under stress. At a burnout level, a lot of people say this, long-term changes in body vulnerability to illnesses. People think, oh, I'm just going through a phase. It could be a phase of burnout. It's important for you to look at these symptoms and understand that. And in a burnout stage, a lot of spillover happens from home to social life. In a panic stage, you start avoiding places where escape is difficult. And you reach a panic stage only because you've been living with stress, you've been living with burnout for a long, long time, and it has finally come to this. Having understood these physical changes that might happen, cues that might happen, symptoms that you should watch out for, let's talk about coping strategies here, because really, if there is one takeaway I want you to take from this program, it is that there is help available, there are coping strategies, and your life can be better. It is possible. So look at these coping strategies. Track your stressors under the stress level if you fall under that category. Try to journal. Try to pinpoint into what exactly is causing that stress to you. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Stop being hard on yourself. That's what I mean by that. Exercise, meditation, yoga, just to physically get some control over your body and get your body in balance. If you fall under the burnout category, well, coping strategy for you could be recognizing that burnout can escape notice. Find an attentive listener. It could be help, it could be a professional help, it could be a friend, it could be anybody in your safe circle whom you feel good talking about. And also what helps is a break from work if you're in that burnout stage. In a panic attack stage, well, the first thing is that you need to see a professional. In fact, all three stages, it's very good to see a professional. They're just there to help you out. There's nothing wrong with you if you're doing that. Cognitive behavior therapy is great for confidence to re-enter and fear situations to build in. You can look up that issue in detail as well. A lot of therapists come in talking just about that. And also practice mindfulness. What is that? How can you lead to this? All of this is something that we will discuss with our panel now. Let me break it open to them. Joining us on FYI today is Nikhil Taneja. Also with us is Divya Mehrotra and Ashish Thakur. Nikhil, let me come to you first. I've just tried to, I don't know if it's easy, I don't know if it's even possible to talk about stress in such a short duration of time, because I know one size does not fit all, but very broad definition is what we've tried to put out for people to understand, because it's such a casual thing to say, oh, I'm just very stressed right now. And people think, oh, I'm just going through this phase at work. Oh, I was just not feeling very good today. People don't know how to identify trigger points, etc. To somebody who's still not in sync with what's happening to them mentally and physically, is there a quick tip that you can share for them to take a pause and understand what's happening within?
First of all, Sonal, thank you for having this conversation on national television. I think this is a very, very, very important conversation, and we should be having this a lot more, because I think the common misconception is that mental health or mental health illnesses happen to only certain kinds of people, who are maybe going through something terrible in their life, or, who are maybe mentally not sound. On the other hand, mental health is something that every one of us goes through. Like we go through physical illnesses, we also go through mental health issues. The thing we don't understand, and I think the answer to the question is also the fact that stress is a spectrum. Mental health is also a spectrum. When you feel terrible about something that's happened at work, that's happened in your, in the school or college that you're in your home also, and if you're feeling anxious about that, if you're feeling upset about that, that is also a function of your mental health. If it's happening in a phase, of course, that's when you really need to go take help. But on a daily basis also, it's very important to notice which are these moments where you're feeling stressed. And the way to kind of overcome that, at least the first step is, as you said also, I think in one of the panels that you put out, is to track them, is to really understand what are these things that give us this stress, and then can we change our life just a little bit to avoid these situations? Can we deal with them better? Can we understand why we are, feeling uncomfortable about something? So I think awareness is step number one. And I think you've also mentioned some of the steps, so I'll just add that, which is that, everybody has their own way of dealing with it. So, I like journaling. I like waking up early and, reading a book, which just genuinely helps calm me down.
In the morning and not at night. That's interesting.
No, absolutely, because I think a lot of the stress and a lot of anxiety in us comes from losing control over whatever we are going through. If you're trying to find ways of seeking control in our life, in doing things that are more mindful, in doing things that help us, I think so whether it's journaling, whether it's doing art, whether it's going for a long walk, whether yoga, whether meditation, but of course ultimately it is about finding the right kind of help as well.
Right.
I think
I like that you said mindfulness, because on that note I want to go to Divya as well. Now Divya is somebody who's been working with a lot of corporates. And also picking on the point that Nikhil was making, just because you have a good career and you have happy Instagram posts does not mean you're not entitled or you can't feel stressed. How dare you feel unhappy in life after being so privileged? That is not the case anymore. And Divya deals with these people on a regular basis, especially in the pandemic. It's become much worse. Divya, any quick tips you can share with our viewers who are really hard, and I feel it's really bad for people who blame themselves for feeling the stress, who don't understand that there could be factors outside that are causing in, and if you were just to get in sync with your life, it would get better. Tips from you?
Thank you, Sonal, for inviting me for this show. So first thing I would like to take a tip is observe, observe and observe. Observe your thought, observe your action in a day-to-day life. Because in the entire day we just run after so many chores, office meetings, calls and everything. But we do not give importance to us. So we need to give importance to us, observe our thoughts, where our thoughts are leading. Observe our actions, where they are leading and what could be the actions or reactions of those actions. So these observations are very important, and the tracking with them is also very important. So I would say through art therapy, you can work. I do a lot of art-based therapy workshops. In these workshops, I always emphasize on the talking to your inner self. We talk to the outer world, but what about talking to you yourself? That's the important tip I want to give to everyone. Give that 15 minutes to yourself and talk to yourself. That will help you to calm yourself and manage your stress.
Right. I want to take a pause over there before I go to Ashish as well. I have to quickly take a break. But a friend of mine once described that she couldn't say if it was stress or burnout or whatever. She just said that it feels like I'm constantly on this treadmill. There is no pause button and my life seems to be in black and white. And those analogies stayed with me, and that's why today our graphics also all black and white, just to sort of tell you that there is color possible on the other side, only if you listen in. And like Divya said, take a pause, take a moment to understand what is happening within. I'll go back to Ashish, but on the other side, stay tuned. You're watching this special show on FYI, Coping with Stress. Welcome back. How to cope with stress at work. It is one in our series where we will be talking about different kinds of triggers of stress as well. Let me go to Ashish now, who's been waiting in very patiently on this conversation. Ashish, for somebody who's just perhaps understood and has managed to categorize themselves into where they fall, where do you think would be a good point to start? How do you approach help? How do you get started?
Sure. So, Sonal, first of all, very critical conversation, because even children today are using the word, I'm stressed. And very beautifully put by Nikhil and Divya. Where I want to start with is, you may be self-aware. However, after that, do you self-manage or do you self-mismanage?
I see.
Unfortunately, like we normally slow down our cars when the signal turns amber. But in the case of life, we tend to ignore the smoke alarm of our inner selves, which kind of gives us these buzzers and signals in the form of disturbed sleep, anxiety, drop in appetite or increase in appetite, moods falling, anger outbursts, crying episodes. What are these? These are the body, the mind giving us signals. Something is going off. However, we tend to push ourselves, right till the brink, till it turns red. And like you shared at the start, we've gone from worry to constant worry to stress. Stress is turned into distress. distress is then turned into anxiety and then possibly depression or another mental health challenge. The key is to be aware and manage and sort of nip it in the bud. It's almost like, the tire of our car. You fill it up to an extent where it cannot sustain any more pressure. It'll burst. But you release pressure at that point of time through decompression, through mindfulness, through physical exercise, through conversation. You arrest worry turning to stress, stress turning to distress, and then the cycle continues if not arrested.
Beautiful analogies there, Ashish. Thanks for that. It's lovely to sort of get a context to this. I have a last few minutes, so quickly just want to go around the table and get some closing comments as well. Nikhil, to you first. Then at this point, somebody who's understood this is happening, and I hope we've managed to just sort of seed that thought in your head that it's okay to take a pause and understand and then address it. What do you think is the best way to get started?
I think the first and foremost step is, we constantly talk about this idea of work-life balance. But, as Indians, our work is life. Balance is completely missing, right? We're always conditioned to think more, do more, achieve more. Nothing is enough. The goalposts always keep shifting. So I think, this idea of enough is first and foremost, I think, something that we need to really introspect a little bit about. At what point is it enough? At what point can you just genuinely take a step back, and
can I just add, it's not a problem that individuals can solve. Companies have to step in now. Your top management has to come in and say that this is where the problem lies, and I have to be responsible for the mental health being of my employees as well. I have last few seconds, so just quickly going around. Divya, your thoughts?
And Sonal, just want to quickly share the onus
Ashish,
lies
I'll just
on
come
the
to you.
individual.
Let just Divya finish.
Sure.
I'll just come to you. Divya.
So from my side, it is good to live you as a footloose for some time without any aim. Just be yourself. Do what you like to do, not what others like to do. Be in your own self. Follow your passion. Follow your dream, which you have left because of your work or day-to-day life. And then release all your stress. And then you will be rejuvenate after some time to a new challenge.
All right, I think as women, there are other challenges altogether. The minute you say let go and just live, but that's for a different episode. A woman's brain, how it functions. Ashish, you were saying. I'll give you the last word.
I was saying the onus lies on the individual as well as on the company, because you are your most important key resource area. If you are not going to be responsible for yourself and draw your own lines and boundaries and have conversation, who will?
Beautiful conversation, guys. I can't wait to have more of these with you people. And it's not just work related, it'll be home related, parenthood related, it could be so much more. So we'll pick it one step at a time. And I really hope this has managed to help you, our viewers of FYI, who've been writing to us about all these issues. Young people, millennials who are just getting into the workspace or just getting out of their online world. I know life is tough, but there are so many solutions available out there which we will bring to you. On that note, tada.